Welcome to Speak for Yourself. Oh, it's good to see you guys, even though I can't see you. I'm Marcellus Wiley. That's Emmanuel Acho.
Dog.
Now, I can see you, and it's great to see you, big dog. Alive, too, as well. Check his Instagram out. Let's get right to the wild weekend that capped off the NFL's regular season, and the 49ers were down 17-0 to the Rams late in the second quarter yesterday, but came all the way back to beat L.A. in overtime. Next up is a wild card matchup in Dallas next Sunday against the Cowboys team that blew out the Eagles behind 5 touchdown passes from Dak Prescott. So, Acho, how big of a threat are the 49ers to the Cowboys?
Man, Sal, every now and then in life, stars align. And unfortunately for the Cowboys, the stars that are aligning aren't great ones. The Niners pose a huge threat to any and everybody, and this has nothing to do with Dallas, my like for them, or disdain for them. December 22nd, I went out on a limb, and I said these words. If y'all remember, December 22nd, let's roll it.
Let's do it. Oh, you're cute. Look at you.
San Francisco 49ers will win their first playoff game. Point blank, period. I don't care where they wind up, who they play against, how they play there. They will win their first playoff game. I have more confidence in this Niners team than every other NFC team, and I know the Packers are going to get a bye. So, December 22nd, I said the San Francisco 49ers will win their first playoff game. I don't care who they play against. I don't care where they play. The San Francisco 49ers do something that no other NFC team does, and that is play incredibly physically. Every NFC team, whether it be the Packers, a little bit of finesse. Y'all know what Aaron Rodgers does so wonderfully. The Buccaneers, a lot of bit of finesse. Tom Brady lead the league in passing yards. The Arizona Cardinals, ain't nothing but finesse. The Los Angeles Rams, finesse. But the Niners smack you in the mouth. They say, I don't care to be pretty. We gonna be gritty. We gonna be grungy. We just gonna sit there and punch you in the face. Now, my Philadelphia Eagles, they set a franchise record in rushing yards. Some people will say they are grimy as well. There's a difference in running attacks, America. There's a quarterback run game, which is still efficient as it pertains to acquiring yards. Then there's just a true traditional run game, which is this ain't going to be outsmarting you, tricking you. We're going to line up and punch you in the face. That's what the Niners do. It's a huge threat to the Cowboys, Sal, because the Cowboys do not do much of anything bad at all.
Okay, there you go.
As a team, the Cowboys don't do much of anything bad, but the Cowboys do one thing mediocre. Stopping the run. You might say, well, Acho, the Cowboys are 16th in stopping the run. That's middle of the pack. Look closer, America. 23rd in yards per attempt. So while the Cowboys are middle of the pack in overall yardage allowed, they're 23rd in how many yards do we give up per rush? The Niners are 29th in passing attempts, meaning the Niners ain't even going to try to pass the ball.
Right.
The Niners are 5th in rushing attempts, meaning all the Niners want to do is run the ball. Cowboys, the only thing you do bad is stop the run. Niners, the only thing we want to do is run the ball. Niners, 5th in rushing touchdowns. Niners, 7th in rushing yards. Cowboys, 16th in rushing yards allowed. Cowboys, 23rd in yards per attempt. It's a bad combination, big dog. Niners are a hungry, tough, gritty football team, and the Cowboys are a great football team, but they a pretty football team. Pretty and gritty don't always mix.
Strong take. That's how we come back together. And I'm glad you went and actually went into the archives for December 22nd, because that feels like the last time I seen December 22nd. And it's been a long time since I've been around the Acho-ism. And I just got one. My English teacher just smacked me upside the head. She said, I don't know if incredibly physically is the way you should say it, but baby, you know how to say it, Acho. Good to see my dog again. I'm with you, though. Woo, Cowboy fans. You know I'm one. It's going to be hard for me to cover up the jersey that I want to wear, the jersey I once wore as a Dallas Cowboy, and say that these 49ers aren't a threat, but they're a big threat. I say they're a big threat because of some of the reasons you say. The running game, the resolve, and how they respond in that resolve that we saw last week, 17 points down, and more importantly, how they've done it all year long in terms of starting off the year under a firestorm, if you want to call it, quarterback controversy, direction of this team, leadership of this team, where are they going to go? Not committed to Jimmy G, but still reluctant in that commitment, and then had to go with Jimmy G. And Jimmy G somehow, some way, is always the magic wand, the magic straw that stirs this thing masterfully for this team. But this is a team that's up and down. Let's not act like this team is going to just show up and show out. It's something about this team that they have to muck it up for them to respond to their own mess that they created. Now, here's the conversation. Are the Dallas Cowboys going to mess this up? Are the Dallas Cowboys going to give them that deficit, that back against the wall? Whatever it is, the mantra of these 49ers this year that makes them respond like they do. I don't see it this year. I understand that the Dallas Cowboys 3-4 against playoff teams. All right. You juxtapose that to a 4-4 team when you talk about the 49ers. So basically, they both were evenly matched against a good team. So you go into the playoffs and you go beyond the stats. Number one team, Dallas Cowboys in offense. Look at the 49ers. Only two other teams are like the 49ers, and this is interesting. Top 10 in offense and defense. That will be the Packers. That will be the Buffalo. Everyone is loving and glowing over the Packers. Everyone's looking at Buffalo with suspicion. Mm-hmm. How come we're not looking at the 49ers with the same suspicion? Just because of how they respond. So I look at this situation like if I'm a Dallas Cowboy, I know that all we have to do is go out there and play our game, and the 49ers, based on their resume this year, won't respond to that. If we don't play our game, if we give them some mistakes, if we let them into this game, then obviously they're a huge threat.
I like that. Let me take it a step further. They always say in relationships, people change. Right? Particularly in marital relationships. The person you start out with is not necessarily the person you will end up with. They change, they evolve. So don't care so much about who you initially got engaged or proposed to. It's who are you married to now? In the same manner, I don't really care who the 49ers started out as or who the Cowboys started out as. Who are you now? Yeah. Now, while we can look at the last game or the last 4 weeks, we can look at since week 8. 49ers have the best record in the NFC at 8-3. 49ers have a couple wins over the Los Angeles Rams. 49ers have a win over the third-ranked AFC Bengals. 49ers, who are they now? Not who did they start off as. They're a really good team. In fact, they're a better team than the Dallas Cowboys, and they're as good a team as anybody else in the NFC based on record since the halfway point of the regular season. So let's make sure we make everybody aware that these Niners are just as good as anybody else. Don't look at their 10-7 record and be deceived. What the Niners couldn't do great, though, is come from behind, man. Like Jimmy G, he's not a prolific passer. He's a good passer. He's a great leader, but they can't come from behind. Or can they? Yesterday, down 17-0 against one of the most prolific offenses in football, the Los Angeles Rams. Come back from down 17-0 to not only take that game into overtime, but win that game in overtime. So now the one thing we thought the Niners can't do great, they actually showed the ability to do. But let me let y'all in on some inside news. Who's the 49ers defensive coordinator?
He used to play. What's his name?
DeMeco Ryans.
DeMeco Ryans, Texas. I was going to say, yeah.
He used to play with me in Philadelphia.
That ain't helping you.
That ain't helping my case. Where did he used to play? In Philly. Who does DeMeco know incredibly well? Not only the Cowboys personnel, because DeMeco was still there in 15. I forget if he was there in 16 or not. But DeMeco knows the Zach Martins of the world. He knows the Tyron Smiths of the world. He definitely knows the Ezekiel Elliott's of the world. He knows the Kellen Moores of the world. And I know this much. DeMeco is coordinating this defense of San Fran to a top 10 defense. Styles make fights. The Cowboys obviously are incredibly talented, are more talented top to bottom than the 49ers. But I think the 49ers the 49ers do have their number because I knew the 49ers had anybody's number.
Damn, you got warmed up. Now you're hot. Now you done burned yourself. Look at you. The second take is all of a sudden they got their number now. We went from, they're a big threat to now they got their number. You should have led with that. And then we could have had some fights up in here, some juice up in here. Nah, they don't have their number. One, we don't know what. Let's talk about numbers. All right. Who's the coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
McCarthy.
Yes, sir. What's his record against Kyle Shanahan?
Got to give me that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Undefeated. Undefeated against Kyle Shanahan. Jimmy G didn't play in either of those games. But the point is, hey, he undefeated against Kyle Shanahan. Now, does he have his number or not? Kyle Shanahan doesn't have his number. You look at these two teams, they're both bad in penalties. 31st. They're both going to make mistakes in terms of giving you the hit and yardage. Look deeper than that. Which team, if they run the football effectively, you could damn near guarantee they're going to win? It's not even the 49ers. No. Because Jimmy G, that's the issue with Jimmy G to the fans of the 49ers. We run the ball great. Jimmy G, why are you messing it up sometimes? You can't say that about Dak Prescott. When has he ever messed it up when they run the football effectively? Cowboys 11-0 when they rush for 100-plus yards. 11-0. They run for 100-plus yards. It's a wrap. It's not a wrap for the 49ers. That's why they don't have their numbers. Also, Cowboys are 9-1 this season when they win the turnover battle. I don't know which team in the NFL has the number 1 ranking in terms of turnover.
That was Cowboys.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
So I don't see how they have their number. I see how if the game goes the 49ers' way in complexion, they're going to play up to their style. But if this game goes as both teams are playing a tug of war in terms of, I want to go out there, number 1 offense, take the ball away. You want to go out there and run the football and try to protect your quarterback to a degree. How's that going to play out? Dallas Cowboys' favor.
That's a good point. It's almost, though, Sel, like a tug of war.
Yeah.
I just think that the element of running the ball is a more dependable element than the element of passing the ball. Because we're talking about if the game goes the Cowboys' way, the Cowboys win. If the game goes the Niners' way, I think the Niners win. Vegas says the same thing. Cowboys currently up by 3.
Yeah.
That's a pick 'em. Cowboys at home.
Y'all figure that out.
Exactly.
That's what Vegas saying.
Exactly.
Y'all got that.
I just think it's more likely the game will go the Niners' way. Why? Because when they say you go on the road, pack your defense, pack your running game. You need both them things. It's easier to depend on that running game than it is to depend on that passing game. If we're being real, man, Trayvon Diggs, beast. Micah Parsons, beast. But are they physical? Because Deebo Samuel, he ain't going to try to run past Trayvon Diggs. He's going to try to run through him.
Yeah.
George Kittle is not going to try to run around Micah Parsons.
Good point.
He is going to try to run through him. So while the Cowboys are incredible at taking the ball away, Cowboys have incredible players, none of that matters, Sel, when somebody just trying to come punch you in the mouth. Like, it's great that you can do all of that outrunning me stuff. I don't care about you outrunning me. Get in this phone booth and let's see who gonna win inside this phone booth. And these 49ers inside this phone booth, I thought they was going to beat anybody. It's not even the Cowboys. 49ers, to me, were going to beat anybody except the Packers in the opening divisional round. It just so happens they got to play the Cowboys.
I get it. Like, the physicality argument I always undermine because nobody going to give me a moment, a warning, a notice, and smack me in the mouth and get away with it. Like, I play football. They play football. No one's going to walk up to me and say, hey, guess what? We're going to out-physical you and then actually do that for 60 minutes. I want to go into what you're talking about, though, inside that phone booth, inside the psychological warfare. You didn't grow up in the times where we actually had phone booths. Like, we used to go there with a quarter. You see an OG sitting on a slim, and he go hit it with a quarter. Oh, he's somebody. You see somebody in there digging like this with 5 nickels trying to hit it. He ain't the same, right? I don't know if the San Francisco 49ers going to get in the phone booth and just hit it one time and it's going to work. I think they're going to have to keep digging. And when they're digging, the Dallas Cowboys will be scoring. The Dallas Cowboys have the number 1 offense for a reason. People could say, well, they sputtered since Dak's injury. Yeah. And in totality, it's still the number 1 offense, still number 1 in terms of putting those points up. Here's the thing about it. So you're going out there saying our mantra is to be more physical than you. Dallas Cowboys say, fine, we could try to out-finesse you in your physicality. How's that going to play out? Who cares? Psychologically, how's that play out when you realize, Jimmy G, last week, you were down 17 points in a must-win game.
Must-win, yes, sir.
Must-win games. Dallas Cowboys playing against the MASH unit of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're not down. We're mashing the gas on the Philadelphia Eagles. All of a sudden, you come back and you're like, yeah, that feels good. 2 playoff teams, Eagles, Rams. But one team had you until they got the phone call, remember the quarter, hey, y'all already won a division. I don't know why y'all playing so hard. Everybody should be out there. And then all of a sudden, the tides changed, right? I don't know if that was just correlation. I don't know if that was just them going out there and that was causality. The point is this. If you're playing against a playoff team like the Dallas Cowboys are playing against a playoff team, and you're in a must-win situation where the Cowboys weren't, how come you guys were down in that situation, but now you telling me, oh, they got their number. Oh, they're going to show up. Oh, they're going to be more physical. Where was that in the first half? Where was that in the beginning of the game when you had to go win that game?
I'll tell you where it was, and I'll tell you why it matters. I'm done.
I'm done.
All that really matters to me is that the Niners found a way in a must-win game to get it done. Because the Niners, I know this much, they sitting in the stadium, they looking up, and they see that the New Orleans Saints are beating the Atlanta Falcons 30-14.
Okay.
So the Niners realize at that point in time, if we lose, we are going home.
Yeah, that's right.
And they're looking at their scoreboard, and it's 17-0. They looking up, and they realize the Saints got it in the bag. The Niners somehow found a way.
Yeah.
But even in the midst of the Cowboys thrashing of the Philadelphia Eagles, and it was a beatdown of the Philadelphia Eagles backups, keep in mind,
don't do this.
The Eagles rushed for 150 yards in that game, and the Eagles averaged 4.5 yards per rush. Y'all just very much so remember, even with these Eagles backups, Jalen Hurts was not on the field, Miles Sanders was not on the field. The Cowboys allowed 4.5 yards per carry, and the Cowboys allowed 150 yards on the ground. This is a good Eagles run game. Cowboys are going to face a really good Niners run game. If the Cowboys can't stop the run, the Niners are going to win that ball game.
Now, I love you, big dog. And you know me, I ain't been gone that long. It's been a couple weeks. I'm looking at the rankings right now of the Philadelphia rushing offense. Number one. San Francisco, number 7. So maybe they got all them yards because they're just a little better than San Francisco. According to you, they got their number. Just ain't got enough quarters. Coming up, my Chargers came so close to making the playoffs, but they did not. Damn it! I'm walking off this set. I just got back for this. We'll tell you how disappointed I am in my Bolts. But first, Dolphins and Bears. We're looking for new head coaches. Tell you if it was the right decision or a mistake. That's next. Don't speak for yourself.
The Dolphins ended their season with a win over the Patriots, but it just wasn't enough. Brian Flores, head coach, was fired after finishing 9-8 this season. Now, he had 0 playoff appearances in his 3 seasons with the Dolphins, but still, it don't make no sense to me. Still, I need you to make it make sense.
Oh, okay.
The Dolphins, they making a mistake by firing Brian Flores.
You
sir.
said the word mistake. No, they're not making a mistake. Now, I understand why you want to ask, are they making a mistake? Because it's the Miami Dolphins. Now they've hopped off of the quarterback carousel and hopped off to the coaching carousel once again. And if you know the Miami Dolphins, especially in the last couple of decades, they've been going back and forth with both of those carousels. Here's the reason why you think it's a mistake, because you don't trust in the Miami Dolphins as an organization.
No, sir.
Right. So now any decision they make, even a good decision, even a decision that is merited, you will still think it's a mistake because you will use their past against them. But Acho, we know the game of football. We know it's a game of sequences. We know that you have to judge every individual decision based on its individual merits. Because of the likability of Brian Flores, and I love Brian Flores, let's be real. Because of his likability, people will whisper and not necessarily yell that he was a losing coach that didn't make a playoff appearance. But let me yell it. He's a losing coach that didn't make a playoff appearance. Oh, my God. Now, you know who else was a losing coach? Adam Gase. You know who else was a losing coach? Tony Sparano. You know that 2 of the last 4 head coaches in Miami were all losing head coaches. But guess what they did? They made the playoffs. Hey, man, we know to have a macro goal, you got to start with a bunch of micro goals. The first one is, can you just get us over the first baby hump? Get us into the playoffs. Now, this is not me talking through my likability of Brian Flores. This is just me reading the resume. Once again, a losing head coach, but not necessarily once again a coach that can't make the playoffs. Because if you're not going to do more than Adam Gase, who you replaced, and you're not going to do more than Tony Sparano, then what are we doing right here? Now, let's dig a little deeper into the numbers. If we start looking at their offense, and this is an offensive-driven league, you got to have a quarterback, which do they? And you got to put up numbers. You got to produce offensively. They're 27th, they're 22nd, they're 25th. Not only is that lower tier, but that's a roller coaster effect in terms of staying at the bottom, but just going a little up and a lot down. Point being, I know we all like them, so we're going to whisper the ills, but the real is losing coach with no playoff experience.
Sal, I got to disagree with you vehemently. Firing Brian Flores is utterly ridiculous. Again, I've said that it is incompetent at best, and it's just ridiculous at worst.
I hear you.
To say he's a losing head coach is not inaccurate, but it is incomplete.
What do you mean? They got more games?
Why do I say it's incomplete?
What?
In totality, is he a losing head coach? Sure, but in his last 2 seasons, he is 19-14. The Dolphins have not had 2 consecutive seasons with 19 wins in totality since 2002-2003.
Yeah.
That is nearly 20 years. Not only that, Brian Flores is coaching a team with the worst blindside tackle in football. Starting right tackle Jesse Davis, he literally ranks 82nd at offensive tackle out of 85 people who Pro Football Focus decided to rank. So he is nearly the worst.
I was about to say he ain't the worst.
Offensive blindside tackle. I say
right.
blindside because he's the right tackle, but Tua's left-handed. Brian Flores is coaching a team quarterbacked by Tua, who has started 21 games out of a possible 33 since he was drafted. Now, so many have said Brian Flores had to be fired because the Dolphins wanted to retain general manager Chris Greer.
Again.
Is this the same Chris Greer that drafted Tua ahead of Justin Herbert? Is this the same Chris Greer that traded a first-round pick to move up 6 spots to draft a receiver? That Chris Greer?
That dude.
So you chose a general manager who's not even as talented as your head coach. If somebody had to go, you let go of the wrong guy. Brian Flores has won 8 of his last 9 in Miami, and he has weathered an incredible storm. Bad franchises do bad things. Dumb franchises do dumb things. And this was a dumb thing done by a dumb franchise, which will keep Miami in football purgatory.
All that may be true and not mutually exclusive. This may be a bad franchise. This may be a bad decision. But there's also merit for this decision that may make it a good decision. Depends on your likability.
What's your merit?
Your merit is this. 23 of the 32 NFL teams in the last 3 years have made the playoffs. Let's do some simple math. That's 72%. Okay? 72%. Of all teams, 72% have made the playoffs in the last 3 seasons. Dolphins are one of those 9 teams that didn't, and one of the 5 in the AFC that did not. Come on, man. With your offense ranking 27th, 22nd, and 25th. No. That ain't what Brian Flores do. That's not who he is. He's a defensive-minded coach. He came from Belichick. Y'all ready? 30th, 20th, 15th. I guess that's improvement. We're mid-pack. Come on, man. Don't want no mediocre. Here's the problem. I did it with the Iggy. Damn. Here's the problem. You get graded on a curve. This is what you always try to make me understand. And I fight against it, but I'm going to throw it back at you. You get graded on the curve. You get graded on the competition. Come on, Sal. Well, let's grade them on the competition. Everybody out there making the playoffs except y'all. And then you guys have a top pick. Whether you pick wrong, pick right, who knows? You picked, and you can't make that work. Oh, let's look at your strong suit defensively. Not much better. I didn't say top 10 ever since he's been there. And this is no slight on them because I think they're well coached. Great special teams, great, it feels like. Not by the numbers. Great defense, not necessarily by the numbers. Here's where this could be an issue. Not a mistake, but an issue. Yo, he could beat Belichick. He's 4-2 against Belichick in the last 3 years. Okay, you got to give some respect to that. He's better than Cliff Kingsbury and Zach Taylor his last 2 years, just right there with him. Okay, got to respect that. But we got to look at this in totality, Acho. It's not a Dan Campbell situation. It's not a Culley situation in Houston where you just got there and it's like, give him some runway, give him some time. He's had 3 years, and I didn't read one ranking in the top 10. Matter of fact, I didn't read one higher than 15th. So where is this headed? If you want to wait till it gets there, then you may be too late.
Here's the problem, Sal. Flores can only coach the players he is given. You gave me Tua instead of Herbert, and look what I've done with Tua. Because he's done much more with Tua than what the Chargers have even done with Herbert. Well, let's make no mistake about that as far as team success.
Okay.
Okay, let's team
success.
Let's clarify that.
We know Herbert the best quarterback.
Oh,
in the
no
league.
doubt about it. But the fact of the matter is, he's not the best quarterback.
So I'm trying to talk it under. Keep going.
But think about that. Brian Flores has a better record with Tua as a starter than what the Chargers have with Herbert as a starter, not only this year, but the last 2 years.
Great point.
And mind you, Tua hasn't even played all of the games, y'all. But everything in life is relative. So I got to look at the relatives of Brian Flores that are getting fired. The coaches that got fired this year, Vic Fangio, last 2 years, 12 and 21. Matt Nagy, last 2 years, 14 and 19. Mike Zimmer, last 2 years, 15 and 18. And then you have Brian Flores. Now, which one of these is not like the other? Because all them other ones is losing.
For what reason, though?
This one, Brian Flores, is a winning head coach. So it just doesn't make sense. I also heard this much. If you fire your coach and he instantly becomes the best coach candidate on the market, you probably fired the wrong guy.
I like that.
And again, Brian Flores will now be the best coach available on the market. You always tell me this. Judge a man by a distance traveled.
By the distance traveled.
I judge him by his distance traveled. Brian Flores traveled from 5 wins year 1 to 10 wins year 2, and now a strong 9 wins year 3. Mind you, before he got there, they had 6 wins and they had 7 wins.
Did you say a strong? They gave him an extra game. He won one fewer game. Damn it.
Without his quarterback, Sam.
Without his quarterback. That's his quarterback. You can't start going around. Look, this is why you still single. I can tell. Because you start leaking oil on your partnership when things get rough. What do you mean? I didn't draft Tua. He jumped on grenade after grenade for Tua. And I don't know if that was just to save his job or that's what a great leader does. Whatever it is, he took ownership of Tua, right? He took ownership of this is my quarterback. Now, there were obviously conversations about Deshaun Watson, and I'm guessing more than just Deshaun Watson. But the point is, that's who you got. On one hand, you're telling me how much he's done with Tua. And on the other hand, you say all he got is Tua. Which way is it? And that's the problem with situations like this. This is why it's not a mistake. Because I can make a strong, the right word, the right usage of the word, strong argument on both sides of the coin. So then you start to say, well, then what is he? In totality, losing coach, trending the right direction. You started off 1-7 this year. Then you went 8 of 9. What is that?
Why would you fire that, though, Sel?
What you mean, why? Can you start off 1-7?
Here's what you don't do. And let's go track and field. We only 29 minutes into the show.
Let's go.
Track and field.
Now we back.
If you see a runner come out the blocks incredibly slow, but then he starts to open up, hits the stride, take the lead, you're not going to end the race right then and there when he opening up.
No.
Particularly if you get to dictate the length of the race.
No.
If you get to dictate the length of Brian Flores as your head coach, why would you stop the race as soon as he started opening up his stride and gaining ground? 8-1 in his last 9 games. Take that momentum into next season. Don't fire him in the midst of the momentum. He has done more with less than any coach, in my opinion, outside of Mike Tomlin this year, because Mike Tomlin had a quarterback that was contemplating retirement the entirety of the season. Brian Flores has done more with less in this Miami Dolphins organization than I think any coach in the National Football League over the last 2 years. Dolphins got 1 Pro Bowler, big dog.
Okay.
Cornerback Xavier Howard. They got 1 Pro Bowler, and he got them 9 wins.
Okay.
Come on now, Sel.
Well, then that's a participation award. That's a most improved coaching award, which doesn't exist. And more importantly, he couldn't even win because he goes bad, good, a little less than what you were at your best. Here's the thing. There's a divorce potentially happening in Seattle right now with Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson, right? Now, no one wants to see them get divorced, but if you put gun to head, you say, who has to go? Who has to go? The quarterback or the coach? The coach. In that situation, you're looking at this situation, if you're ownership, you're like, I got a coach who has a losing record. It's just, damn, you don't like your name no more?
You got to stop saying that.
I got to say what I've earned. I got to say who I am. I say everything about myself, good and bad.
But who are you lately?
What do you mean lately?
Who are you right now?
Lately, look, who he is still a losing coach, even though what he's got. This is how bad this student is. You keep saying, man, he got 3 A's on his last test. I was like, yeah, he still got a D in the class. Woo, that ain't good. This guy is 24 and 25, and I love him as a person. Likability, I think he's a great coach. I think he's going to land on his feet. I think he's going to land in a better situation. But we got to call this one for what it is. Back to the whole divorce up there in Seattle. They're going to pick the player over the coach. In this situation, you got to pick the player too. One, because what if Tua is something that is special? We don't know what Brian Flores is going to be, and we ain't got that much time. And let's be real. You have went up from 27th to 22nd and then back down to 25th in terms of offense. Maybe offense, maybe you figuring out that side of the ball, maybe you figuring out Tua is not your thing. What's their most valuable asset? It's not Xavier Howard. It's not their Pro Bowler. It's the quarterback in Tua. So if he can't figure out Tua and he can't figure out how to win more games than lose, then guess what, big dog? I'm sorry to read you your resume, read you your rights. But guess what? You got to own up to it. That's who you are.
But think about this for a second in conclusion for me.
Okay.
Brian Flores won 9 games with Tua. The Bengals only won 10 games with Burrow. Mm-hmm. Chargers only won 9 games with Herbert. Mm-hmm. The Raiders only won 10 games with Carr. The Titans, I can't talk about Titans. The Steelers, they only got themselves 9 wins. The Ravens only had themselves 8 wins.
Facts.
So win 9 games with Tua. Imagine how many games he could win if either Tua played the whole time or if he had, I don't know, Herbert, the guy that was drafted after Tua. Brian Flores has done more with less than any other coach. Firing him makes no sense.
Okay, let's run through the scenarios just so you can understand where I'm coming from. Maybe you won't. The talent level of Tua, still TBD.
Yes,
to
sir.
be determined.
I agree with that.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
So we don't know exactly what's in Tua, but let's try and figure it out. Versus Brian Flores as a coach. Is that the same level of TBD? Or is it like, we kind of get who he is? He was supposed to be a defensive-minded coach. It hasn't translated to the defense yet. We certainly know he wasn't an offensive-minded coach, and that did translate to the offense. So in terms of extracting all that there could be in him as a coach or Tua as a quarterback, I think there's more of an opportunity and there's more of a desire to take it from Tua. That's why it wasn't a mistake. Coming up, the Chargers were seconds away from going to the playoffs. I'll tell you how disappointed I am in my boats. That's next on Speak for Yourself. Good job.
Seth freaking Rollins is back. What does the return of one of his greatest rivals mean for the Universal Champion? The head of the table, Roman Reigns? Find out on an all-new edition of Friday Night SmackDown, live at 8 Eastern, 7 Central on Fox.
Let's get to last night's thriller in Las Vegas. The Raiders and Chargers would have both advanced to the playoffs if they tied, and they were seconds away from doing that. But the Raiders kicked the game-winning field goal and are now moving on, while my Chargers were sent back home without a playoff berth. Sacho, how disappointed are you in the Chargers?
The Chargers are the most disappointing team in the NFL this year, man. The Chargers, the Ravens, and you can say the Browns. The reason I would say the Chargers more than any other team, because the Chargers are supposed to have that best quarterback-coach combination. Yeah. I mean, I was told after 5 weeks of football that Justin Herbert was an MVP candidate. I was told after 5 weeks of football that Justin Herbert was as good as Patrick Mahomes. I was told after 5 weeks of football that Brandon Staley was one of the best coaches in football. So many television experts, Twitter experts got to run through a wall for Brandon Staley after these different press conferences he gave, a leader of men. He can't get his team to stop a fourth down, 3rd and 4 rather.
Sure.
Chargers are incredibly disappointing. So you almost have to try to not make the playoffs with Justin Herbert. As talented as Justin Herbert is at quarterback, you almost have to go out of your way to not make the playoffs when you have Herbert on offense, and he didn't get hurt all season long. When you have Derwin James on defense, when you have Bosa on defense, you almost have to intentionally try to not make the playoffs. Now, you could say maybe that's what Brandon Staley was doing, going for it on 4th down within his own 30 in the 4th quarter, the 3rd quarter rather. Like, things he was doing did not make sense. I'll let you go because I'm interested to hear what you have to say, but the Chargers are the most disappointing team involved.
Hey, woo, this one hurts. Let me tell you why this one hurts. Because exactly what you just said. Justin Herbert makes this hurt. Not so much if you look at our team in totality, and look, we are laced with talent. This is a strong roster, respect to what they've constructed. But when you see Justin Herbert play and you realize the level of talent, and more importantly than his talent, his demonstration of that talent, especially in critical moments, you realize we got something special. And let's not waste special, as you always say. Let's not play with our food. This year, we played with our food. Look at Justin Herbert at the quarterback position, number 1 in pressure situations playing quarterback. That means whatever you throw at him, he's going to rise to the occasion. Now, looking at our team in terms of basic fundamental football, that's where we struggle. I'm disappointed in the Chargers because they were able to do the special, but not the simple. I'm disappointed in the Chargers because when you look at them, even with me, I removed my rooting interest. I removed my playing days. I removed my season tickets. I removed my fandom, and I still look at that team and say, yeah, they should make the playoffs. And then you look up, they're not in the playoffs. And then to add insult to injury, how they missed the playoffs. Good Lord, was that something. Let's talk about how this game ended. Herm Edwards never went out there and famously said, you played to tie the game. You know why he didn't say that? They weren't playing to tie the game, neither team. Like everybody talking about, oh, if you didn't call timeout, if you didn't. Man, look, I ain't never, ever seen somebody say, hey, dog, we're going to tie this up now. Chill. They are not going to do that. So let me tell you what was going on. In the mindset of the Chargers, they were like, yo, we got to stop them from running the football because that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to bleed the clock, get in field goal range, and make it, right? He hasn't missed a home kick all year. And you know what happened? The Chargers look up. The run defense is being what the run defense is, which is very bad, third worst run defense in the league. We've lost 4 of our last 5 games when we have given up over 100 yards. Yes, we have given up over 30 yards in 3 of our last 4 games and lost those games. And then we saw it. Brandon Staley saw it, and people not giving him enough credit. He saw him come out in 11 personnel. He said, everybody like, why are you calling a timeout? 11 personnel is deceptive.
Now you finna talk. Now you're going to talk.
11
now
personnel make you think.
Turn the volume up. Now you're going to talk.
It makes you think, oh, we about to launch this.
What's 11 personnel? You're doing too much.
One
too smart
back,
right
one tight end. And using the number of 5 in terms of skill players, that means there are 3 wide receivers.
Talk about it.
So when you see 3 wide receivers, the average Joe is thinking they're going to throw the football. Staley looks up and said, no, they're not. They about to run the football. To the point of them and 11 personnel in this game had 113 rush yards, only 90 passing yards. They ran that 46% of the time on 3rd down. And they even scored a touchdown out of that personnel. Brandon Staley actually was doing his job. It's just his history caught up to him, Kansas City game especially. People are like, oh, God, what is he doing? What he was doing was trying to go out there and play the best run defense that we could play. Problem is, the best run defense we have is the 3rd worst in the league. We couldn't stop anything. And then you know what happened.
I got a couple thoughts. Number 1 is we've been sold a lie. Both Brandon Staley and Justin Herbert can't be this good and the Chargers be 9-8. So something is deceptive. We're lied to in regards to something. Either Brandon Staley's not that good or Justin Herbert's not that good. But I'm telling you this right now, America, the coach can't be that good and the quarterback be that good and the team be this mediocre. Why? Because every team in the National Football League that has great coach, great healthy quarterback, they win. Every single team. Some teams just have great healthy quarterback and a mediocre coach and they still win.
Facts.
So somebody somewhere has lied to us. The real issue with Brandon Staley, I'll give y'all this much. He doesn't have a good feel for the game yet. Brandon Staley, he outsmarts himself. Why does he outsmart himself? Because he's brilliant with analytics. But sometimes analytics can lie to you. I always say this. Figures don't lie, but liars figure. What do I mean by that? Brandon Staley, sure, it makes more sense theoretically to go 4-2 when you're down 29-20 because you want to know if you don't get the 2-point conversion, are you going to have to score again? Analytically, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
But emotionally, that doesn't make sense. Chargers went for 2, down 29-20. If they didn't get the 2, they're still down by 9, and the next time they get the ball back was with 2 minutes and 6 seconds left in the 4th quarter. If you are down by 9 with 2 minutes and 6 seconds in the 4th quarter, it's blouses. It might not actually be blouses, but within the minds of football players like Marcellus Wiley or myself, we know we're not scoring twice with 2 minutes, 6 seconds left.
Right.
Period. It's blouses. Brandon Staley outsmarts himself. But now let me do something for y'all that nobody else has done because I spent too much time trying to do it. Brandon Staley said it's 11 personnel. So they might pass, but they might run. Let me put an 11 personnel defense on the field. That's what he did.
Yeah.
He played a 3-3-5.
Yeah.
3 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. Why is that a pivotal mistake? Because who was the tight end on the field for the Raiders? The tight end on the field for the Raiders was number 87, Foster Moreau. That's not Darren Waller. If Foster Moreau's on the field, number 87 for the Raiders, that is a run. 91% of the time. Why? I rewatched the game and I checked. Sal, this one gonna hurt you, big dog. 11 personnel, when Foster Moreau was the tight end, they ran the ball 10 out of 11 times. The one time they passed the ball was in the 2-minute drill at the end of the first half. So as soon as you see 87 on the field for the Raiders, Chargers, you know it's a run. So don't even play an 11 personnel run defense. Play a 12 personnel run defense and really stop the run. That's why I say Brandon Staley outsmarted himself. Because Brandon Staley said, I have to match light personnel with light personnel. They come out in 11 personnel, I have to play an 11 personnel run defense. But if you know it's going to be a run, forget what personnel grouping they are in. Just stop the run. You go to a doctor's office, they'll tell you this. We don't treat the lab, we treat the symptom.
Yeah.
Because a lab can lie. I'm going to treat the symptom. Don't play the personnel grouping. Play what's going to come from the personnel grouping. Brandon Staley tried to play the personnel grouping, but all he had to do was play what's going to come from the personnel grouping. Come out in a base 12 personnel run defense like they did on 1st and 10, which led to 2nd and 11. Go rewatch the game. Y'all can fact check me. Like they did on 1st and 10, which led to 2nd and 11, and the game would have been over. It would have ended in a tie, Chargers in the playoffs.
This is the spiciest, this is the special sauce of this show. We are going to where I used to get electrified in terms of preparation for the game. Tendencies. And because tendencies.
That part.
Oh, my God. You can play
part.
the game before the game. As they used to say in track and field when I used to be out there, you know me, I'm a national record holder and national champion. That they say that you actually win your medals in practice. They just give them to you at the meet.
That's good.
So here we go. You get all this in practice. And the problem with this one is he had to get this one in the game. 10 of 11 opportunities in terms of 11 personnel running the football. But here's what tendencies make you do. It makes you do two things. Either anticipate, which is a positive, or guess, which is a negative. Coaches always say anticipate, never guess. Brandon Staley didn't want to guess that they were going to run it. He didn't even want to anticipate they're going to run it because he was so mesmerized by the analytics, which said they are going to be in 11 personnel but do X. I want to break it down like this because that was a strong argument. I don't want to blame Brandon Staley today, and I don't want to take away his stripes because he's a young coach. And let's start at the top. Young coaches, when they're still full of potential, full of greatness, maybe become the GOAT. Bill Belichick, was he a winning coach his first year? No. 6 and 10. Brandon Staley right now, was he a winning coach in his first year? Actually, yeah. Didn't make the playoffs, but a winning coach nonetheless. I don't want to get into a conversation where we're starting to say, well, you can't have a great quarterback and a great coach. Well, maybe you got great potential, just not fully realized as you even stated. Here's the thing. When you have common denominators, this whole timeout, this whole 11 personnel, this whole 12, when you have a common denominator, look at the difference in the numerators. Timeout, you call a timeout. You play good run defense on that 3rd down and not give up 10 yards, guess what happens? Kick a 56-yarder. Good luck to you. You go out there and play the run defense that the Chargers play, which is bad run defense, which they've been playing all year long. What happens? It's now the blame game. It's now where the scapegoats. We don't need to guess what the scapegoat is. They got a bad run defense. You think the Raiders didn't know that? Raiders were not going down there to kneel. The Raiders weren't going down there to just run some simple, basic running play. They were like, they can't stop the run. So let's just keep running the ball and see what we can get out of it. I think they were in a bonus mindset, but it turned into pay dirt. And it turned into them winning the game.
I'm going to give my worst football experience and story as I end this lap. I was starting for the Eagles at this point in time, and we're playing the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans, I believe, were quarterbacked maybe by Zach Mettenberger at the time, but they had a tight end, Delaney Walker, who was...
he thick.
He was a big dog. Now, here, I wasn't the fastest. I promise y'all I was not at all the strongest, but I prided myself in being one of the smartest players on the field. I'm going to tell on myself. True story.
Okay.
This one hurts my heart. If the Titans ever came out in 22 personnel in the middle of the field, right? So 2 running backs, fullback, running back, 2 tight ends. This is like a goal line formation.
Yeah, I'm about to say, it's Powerball.
If they came out in 22 personnel in the middle of the field, it was not a run. It was a play-action pass.
Look at that.
Every time.
Okay.
Now, 22 personnel says we are going to run. But the Titans, 22 personnel in the middle of the field, that is the specific. It was a play-action pass.
Loved it.
Titans came out in 22 personnel. Saturday, 1 p.m., Philadelphia. I go out there.
Saturday? Why y'all playing there?
Sunday. I go out there. Our coach, he gives us a storm roll. He gives us a blitz to stop the run. I'm thinking it's a run. I forgot in my notes, 22 personnel, middle of the field. It's a pass. I get beat by Delaney Walker, 60 yards. We tackle him on the 8. Why am I saying that? What happened yesterday was the Chargers thought it was balanced, run pass. Why do I say that? Chargers defensive tackle, Braden, I don't know how to say his last name, Fehoko, no disrespect. He tweets at me, Acho, it wasn't a bad defensive call. It was 11 personnel balanced runner pass. It wasn't balanced runner pass. Because as long as that tight end 87 was on the field, like Sel said, it was run, run. And if the Raiders were going to run the ball, go out there and a defense to stop the run. I put that on defensive-minded, brilliant head coach Brandon Staley. And if it's not on Staley, it's got to be on Chargers defenders. That play should have been stopped. The Chargers should be in the playoffs. And because they're not, I'm incredibly disappointed.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. God, I love the mind science. The
science,
is
complicated, boy.
The science of football. You make so many plays just sitting there with the red dot and the clicker, just knowing these tendencies. And only thing I will say that is discouraging about Brandon Staley is for a guy who's so analytical, it's hard to be that analytical in terms of formula and then still stay in the moment and understand what those formulas are dictating and telling you something. And Brandon Staley, you can't serve all those gods. And it just caught up to him yesterday at the worst.
So have you ever been told, because coaches would tell me this, particularly when I was in college, Acho, you're so smart that you're stupid.
You think I ain't hear that? You know I heard
You're so smart that you're stupid.
Playing on the calculator.
And what they meant was that is paralysis by analysis.
Yep.
You are so smart, thinking so much that what you're doing is dumb. Bill Belichick, before there was any analytics, has won plenty of Super Bowls. He had won plenty of Super Bowls before you were checking the neuro energy of athletes before practice, before you were checking their recovery, before you were getting smoothie protein shakes after workouts. Bill Belichick had about 3 Super Bowls in his back pocket. Brandon Staley, I'm concerned, is so smart that he's stupid. And it's not that he's not intelligent. It's just that he's too intelligent, that he can't actually apply his intelligence when he needs to.
Now you're going to make me pump him up because that was strong. But Bill Belichick was a losing head coach. 5 of his first seasons. And Brandon Staley is already a winning coach. You better watch out, Belichick. He coming for your GOAT status. Come on, Bolts. Next year, we got this. Coming up, the Chiefs won, but they're not the number 1 seed. Tell you how confident we are in KC heading into the postseason. That's next on Speak for Yourself.
Patrick Mahomes threw 2 touchdown passes to help the Chiefs beat the Broncos on Saturday. But Mahomes said after the win, quote, "We haven't had that complete game yet." Being humble, I see. Next up, in the playoffs. And since the Titans beat the Texans, KC is the 2 seed and they got to host the Steelers. So, Sal, what's your confidence level in these Chiefs headed into the postseason?
It is not high. It is based off of recency bias and success that they've had. This dynasty that I keep hearing about that they've had that I don't know if they've had because they only have 1 Super Bowl, but it's a dynasty nonetheless, right? So that's why I'm like, okay, I got confidence in this team, but not high in terms of confidence. I feel like we're being premature even asking this question because don't they play Pittsburgh this week? They're going to beat Pittsburgh. My God, they better. If they don't beat Pittsburgh, dynasty, they're going to beat Pittsburgh. Okay, let me just get that out the way. However, let me make the argument how Pittsburgh can beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are not that strong on defense. People want to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs on defense, 27th ranked. Interesting. So you can get up and down the field on this team. Now, no team gets after the quarterback better than the Pittsburgh Steelers, in part because they got TJ Watt. Damn, I wish I was him. Oh, that boy a beast. TJ Watt. And they're going to get after the quarterback. So if they get after Patrick Mahomes, all of a sudden, the same Patrick Mahomes who's been in and out of rhythm this year gets disrupted, pressure on him, pressure in his face. Then you start to look around and say, well, how else can the Steelers do something? Throw some more logs on that fire. Well, the Steelers give away the football fewer times than the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, we can get into a turnover situation where we can win the turnover battle. Then you start digging even deeper. Fewer penalty yards for the Steelers than the Chiefs. Hitting yards, take the ball away, get after the quarterback, and they got a bad defense. If I'm Mike Tomlin, you know how he gonna say it too. He talking those rhythms, right? The point is, Mike Tomlin is gonna be able to get this team at least in their mental makeup revved up, ready to play against the Kansas City Chiefs. The thing is, Kansas City Chiefs have such confidence in their recency bias, such confidence in how good they were, how good they are, that I think they're gonna be able to beat the Steelers.
So I'm not even looking at the Steelers, big dog. Like the team, they're not even on it.
Sal,
you didn't hoop, huh?
Not well.
I feel you. I hooped well for a little bit, till about my junior year in high school, and then I had to focus on track and field, then I had to focus on football.
My dog.
What the great shooters will tell you is don't look at the defender, just look at the basket. Like this, you can feel that even pass rushing. Let's talk pass rushing.
Yeah.
Pass rushing. You don't look at the offensive tackle. You can just feel the offensive tackle when he's shooting his hand, see the break in his elbow, all that stuff. You're looking at the quarterback. The Chiefs aren't even looking at the Steelers. They're just going to feel the Steelers. They're just two-hand swipe the Steelers. They might long-arm the Steelers. But the Chiefs aren't even looking at the Steelers. The Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. Simple. That's my confidence, though, is the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. Who is going to stop the Chiefs? I have no doubts of the Chiefs. And where I do doubt the Chiefs get the benefit of the doubt. So I'm not worried nothing for these Chiefs. Steelers, they beat 36-10 just 3 weeks ago, so they're going to mollywop the Steelers, keep that pushing.
Wow.
After that, they'll mess around and play maybe the Bills. Maybe they'll play the Patriots, depending on what shakes out there. They might mess around and play these Bengals. Bengals beat them by 3 in Cincy. I get all that, but I'm not worried about the Chiefs. Chiefs have the best combination in the AFC of quarterback plus coach. The number 1 seed is Ryan Tannehill. The Titans, if we being real, they might lose as soon as they come off the bye, big dog. They come off the bye and they have to mess around and play the Bills. They come off the bye and they mess around and play the Patriots. Tannehill and them, they might be gone. The Chiefs have the best combination of quarterback, coach. And what I know about Super Bowl wins, what's your quarterback-coach combination?
Let's talk it.
Bruce Arians, Tom Brady. Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. What's your quarterback-coach combination look like? Quarterback-coach combinations lead to Super Bowl wins. And when I look at Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow, it's both y'all's first times in the playoffs. When I look at Mac Jones, Bill Belichick, Mac Jones, you just lost to the Dolphins last week. When I look at Derek Carr and I ain't got a head coach. When I look at Josh Allen and McDermott, what's your quarterback-coach combination look like? Don't tell me about the person. Tell me about that combination. I can tell you if they're going to win or not. She's going to the Super Bowl.
Okay, let me do my job. This is my primary job. Obviously, I have some income that is in my reserves for my playing days, and obviously I get some other income in terms of some of the social appearances. And obviously, as you know me, my moonlighting job is I'm a defense attorney, right? I defend any and everyone in my mind, at least in my arguments. Here's the thing. Let's just foresee a scenario where, I don't know, the Pittsburgh Steelers can get 2 sacks on Patrick Mahomes. You agree? Yeah,
of course, that'll happen.
What about 2 takeaways? You remember that Patrick Mahomes had 6 most giveaways this year. Patrick Mahomes. So 2 sacks, maybe 2 takeaways? Maybe.
I don't see it.
Me either. I don't really see it. But if that were to happen, the Steelers are 4-0 this year. Oh, wait a minute. I know the 2 sacks going to happen. Them takeaway, you get Patrick Mahomes twice, one of them running backs fumble. Interesting, big dog. Defense attorney. All right. My case doesn't rest just yet. Let's talk about the Steelers who haven't lost a game this year when their opponent scores 20 or fewer points. Now, Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs offense, rolling. How many times did they score 20 or fewer points this year, though? Once, 2, 3. Damn, run down the fingers. 5 times. Wait a minute, Pittsburgh. 2 sacks, 2 takeaways. You're undefeated. Oh, wait a minute. You hold them to 20 or fewer, you got them. Interesting. And then when you played them before and they beat you, y'all had 3 giveaways. Now, it may happen again that way. But if I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm not selling it that way. I look at this team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they kind of remind me of yesterday. Yesterday, we saw the Jacksonville Jaguars go out there and beat the Colts. And no one saw that coming, but it happened. Same way this situation. You talking about I'm looking past it? I kind of am as well. But let's be careful of looking past it because we thought that the Colts were going to be able to beat the Jags. Matter of fact, 2 weeks ago on this show, or maybe 4 weeks ago, I don't know when the last time we watched, but the point is, we were thinking about the Colts and the Chargers as being the most dangerous. Think about it. Kansas City Chiefs game, when we saw how the Chargers were playing against the Chiefs, we were like, Colts, Chargers, be careful playing against those teams. Both those teams sitting at the crib right now looking for Nintendo. So here's the thing. If you look at this game, on paper, ugly. Psychologically, though, there's a way to cook this up where the Steelers got a fighting chance.
There's a way, but there are way too many stipulations. It's not who Patrick Mahomes was this season. It's who is he lately. Again, since week 8, Patrick Mahomes, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions or fewer. It's only Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers on that list.
That's pretty
good. While
good.
Patrick Mahomes started off struggling, 3-4, 7 weeks through the season, had the worst record within his division. Right now, Patrick Mahomes has been playing at the same level as the one and only Aaron Rodgers, who will win the MVP this year. Chiefs are going to head way past the Steelers. They're going to head to the Super Bowl. That's the one thing I'm confident on in this playoffs.
I have nothing else to add to it. Like I said, this question was a week too early, but we had to fill up the block. We did that. Good luck, Steelers, boy, because they may come steal y'all joy. Coming up, the Cowboys are all set for the playoffs, but we'll tell you what's been the most impressive part of their season so far. That's next on Speak for Yourself. The Cowboys are going into the playoffs on a high note after blowing out the Eagles without Jalen Hurts on Saturday. Dak Prescott threw 5 touchdown passes and broke Tony Romo's franchise record for the most touchdown passes in a season. Mike McCarthy joked, quote, "It's a hell of a year for a guy that was in a slump." Mm-hmm. So, Acho, what's the most impressive part of the Cowboys season?
There's several parts. The first thing is the defensive turnaround.
Yes.
You cannot overstate the incredible job the Cowboys and Dan Quinn have done on defense. But we can all talk about the statistical turnaround. I'm going to talk even greater than that. The most impressive thing the Cowboys have done this season is the maintaining of all the egos. The Cowboys are paying a receiver $100 million, and he's not the best receiver on the team.
Okay.
The Cowboys are paying a running back $100 million, and he's not the best running back on the team. The Cowboys are paying a defensive end $100 million, and he's not the best defensive end on the team.
Yeah.
So the fact that you have Amari getting $100 million, but CD's getting all the shine, Zeke is getting $100 million, but everybody's calling for Tony Pollard, and DeMarcus Lawrence is getting $100 million, but Micah Parsons is the one who everybody was saying should be the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Yet you still have a team in the midst of all of these egos that is winning and playing for the collective good of the organization. That, to me, is the most impressive. I've seen incredibly talented teams not live up to their talent because of the dysfunction within the locker room, because of the pride of the players. Cowboys have a whole lot to be prideful in. You got a cornerback that has 10 interceptions. You have a linebacker that has 10 sacks. You have a quarterback that's thrown for 4,000 yards. You have a receiver that's caught 1,000 yards. And you have a running back that's rushed for 1,000 yards. First time in NFL history. So the Cowboys stars are shining as bright as ever. Cowboys got a whole lot of individuals that have done a lot individually, but still collectively, they've put all their focus on winning games as a team. That's the most impressive thing. We can talk about the Cowboys' turnaround on defense. We can talk about their turnaround from turnovers. We can talk about all that. But the fact that you can maintain all of these egos, and they have a right to be cocky this season, that to me is most impressive.
Oh, I like that take. Except the end, you start put some bass in your voice when you talk about the takes that I'm about to give. You're like, you can talk about the stats. We can talk about that's all I got. We can talk about, let me try to over here hum over what I'm about to say. Most impressive part of the Cowboys season, I'm going to go into your take a little bit at the end, is really that they had not only a win streak, winning 6 games in a row, week 2 through 8, but a win-ish streak. They finished the season winning 5 of their last 6. The Dallas Cowboys slump, as Coach says, slump that. So now I'm looking at this team, it's like, damn, y'all had a win streak and a win-ish streak? Pretty impressive. Best in conference in terms of record in the NFC, even though you're not the number 1 seed, that's Green Bay. Best offense, most points per game scored, most takeaways. Damn. I'm looking at this team like, y'all look special on paper. The thing that I'm impressed by the Dallas Cowboys in totality is the fact that they have all of that and they're poised. They are now in a position where they can actually make that realized. They're in a position where they actually go on a Super Bowl run. There are no excuses in the building anymore. To your point, the best wide receiver is not the one that's getting paid the most. The best running back's not the one that's getting paid the most. The best DN, sound like they got money management issues up there, right? But let me tell you how psychologically as a player, and I used to run this calculation, that's actually a positive. Because financially, stay in the vacuum, y'all, with me, financially, when the good players are not playing so well, the good players are bad, that's great. Because everybody's fully motivated. Oh, if they paying him $100 million, I'm out here eating on him. You know what that means? Full motivation from me and the entire squad. Most guys on the team don't make the high money. They don't make the top tax bracket. Most of the guys are the meat and potatoes. Most of the guys are the lower end guys. But guess what? We're fully motivated to go out there. I look at this Cowboys team, man. They check too many boxes for this to be a one-and-done situation. We talked earlier about how San Francisco is a legit threat. However, when you look at the Cowboys, They are the threat because they check all the boxes.
They do. I'm not going to go there because I do think they are going to be one and done. So I don't want to get caught up in that argument.
I kind of feel you do.
But I'll say this. The second thing is, and I've been reading Will Smith's book a lot lately. If you ain't read it, big dog, phenomenal book. One of the quotes he says is, there's only one fear worse than not attaining the object of your desire. And that is the fear of losing it. Only one fear worse than not obtaining the object of your desire, and that's the fear of attaining it and losing it. What's so impressive about the Cowboys is they attained what they desired. They started the season 7-1. Think about all the hype before the season, Sal. America's team, most talented roster ever, most talented roster in the last 20 years for the Cowboys. This, that. How good are they going to be? But by the time they hit the bye week, they had attained it. Well, now you have to operate under the fear of, we are one of the best teams in football. Let's not lose it. And they didn't. It's easier to get good than it is to stay good.
Yeah, facts.
And the Cowboys got good, but after they got good, they actually, to my surprise, stayed good. Now, the resident Cowboys hater in me says, well, it's fairly convenient. After they lost 3 out of 4, they got to play Washington and New York, then Washington again. But at the end of the day, Cowboys did what they were supposed to do. They won all those games, dismantled the backup Eagles. So I give it to them, man. As far as talent, they got all the talent. As far as actually winning games this year, they did that. I think it all comes to an end, like we talked about earlier in the show. I think it comes to an end when they play the San Francisco 49ers. I do believe the Niners win that game. But the Cowboys' regular season, they manage the egos, they manage the expectations, and they manage success.
Yeah. This team is interesting. On the mind, body, spirit journey that I read a couple of books that had that as focus, especially in my transitional years from high school to college to the pros. And they were talking about how the body is the capability, kind of like a vehicle. Like, okay, how is your vehicle just functioning? Can it get you there, your body, in terms of my talents in playing football and graduating? Am I able? Am I capable? Yes, I am. Then it gets into the mind, and it was saying, well, are you fully motivated? Yeah. And then you start thinking about that's the gas. Like, are you motivated? You're going to give it gas. Then you start talking about the spirit in that journey, which is the resolve. Like, okay, you're going to get a flat tire. You're going to pump it back up and get back on the road, or something's going to come in your way in terms of hiccups, the slump, or you guys going to get back on the road. I look at these Cowboys in the mind, body, spirit journey and saying they even check all the boxes in that respect. They're fully motivated. They're capable. And they've shown the resolve this year, because when people started to really talk bad about the Cowboys, they just went out there and won 5 of their last 6 games. Now, so they have this capable team that is being led by one of only 8 Super Bowl champion coaches in Mike McCarthy. Say what you want, can't take away your stripes. Can't take away your Emmys, can't take away my looks. I ain't got no stripes. Here's the point. You look at this team in totality, they are ready to roll. They didn't attain what they really wanted to achieve. What you saw, 6-game win streak, 5 of the last 6, is something that they acquired on the road to the riches. We've been there before when you're like, another warning sign that I'm on the right path, another arrow pointing up, another way that I just am past another threshold that's saying we are something. That's all the Dallas Cowboys are right now. Now, they can't let it all just erupt and just go away right in front of their face. Unfortunately, they got to play the 49ers, and it might come crashing down hella fast. Coming up, the Rams are headed to the playoffs, but they lost a tough one yesterday. I'll tell you how much we trust Matthew Stafford. Next, don't speak for yourself. And I said San Francisco, Bay Area, 49ers, and hella.
The Rams had a 17-0 lead in the second quarter, but it all went away. Quarterback Matthew Stafford threw not 1 but 2 interceptions, including a game-sealing interception to help the 49ers lock up a playoff spot in overtime. Next up is a wild card matchup at home against the Cardinals. Remember, the Rams split with the Cardinals in the regular season. They lost at home, and they won on the road. Well, they got him at home again. So, how much you trust this quarterback of the Rams, though, Matthew Stafford?
Matthew Stafford and trust. Shouldn't be in the same sentence right now. I hate to do this to Matthew Stafford, but he looks suspect as hell. And you know why he looks suspect? Because he reminded us of the worst fear that we had of Matthew Stafford, that when we needed you most, we're going to see the least in you. Matthew Stafford, what was his last pass yesterday? An interception. Game over. Matthew Stafford, there was one thing you couldn't do to this Los Angeles Rams team going forward into the postseason, is remind them of the Detroit Lions, Matthew Stafford. Remember that guy? The guy who played in 3 playoff games, and people want to say, oh, well, it wasn't all his fault. Well, you know what was his fault? That he had more giveaways than touchdowns in 3 games. More giveaways than touchdowns in 3 games. What does that in resume form sound like? Somebody that when we need him most, gonna show up the least. Okay. Now, a guy who ends the regular season with a pick, a guy who has thrown not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 pick sixes this year, is now gonna remind us that he's that guy, and we thought we got something that was of an upgrade to Jared Goff. Who is Matthew Stafford? Oh, just a guy who's tied for the 2nd most giveaways this entire season. Who is Matthew Stafford, the guy who's thrown multiple interceptions in his last 3 games? Who is Matthew Stafford in his last 3 games, passer rating under 100? You know why that's really bad? Because he finished the season with a 102.9, and in your last 3 games, you limped into the playoffs, including the exclamation point of throwing an interception, game clincher, in the last game. He looks suspect to me, big dog. I hate to say it because that was the only thing that will make me be discouraged about Matthew Stafford and this union with the Rams. Unfortunately, we're here.
And more unfortunately, I trust that Matthew Stafford will let me down. This was the mind-blowing thing I realized about Matthew Stafford. We've seen this Matthew Stafford again, y'all. I'm coming on my 10-year college graduation reunion. So
yeah? Are you going to go? You
I'm going to go. I'm going to show up.
Oh, I know you are. You're going to show out.
But what I've realized is that Matthew Stafford's coming on his 10-year reunion as well. His 10-year reunion of his first playoff appearance. Now, during the course of that 2011 season, Stafford had 41 touchdowns, like he had this year. He had 16 interceptions, 17 this year.
Oh.
Stafford had 5,000 yards that season. He had 4,900 this year. What happened? Stafford went to the playoffs that year, and he lost in the playoffs. Why? Because he threw not 1, but 2 interceptions. He was down by 10 to the New Orleans Saints. It was 31-21. Beginning of the 4th quarter, you got to have it, Matthew Stafford.
Come on.
And what did he have? An interception. Drew Brees goes down the field, touchdown, game over. Unfortunately, I trust that Matthew Stafford will let us down. Now, hopefully the Rams in totality can find a way to figure things out. But we saw the game. Stafford, interception for a touchdown against the Niners. Stafford, interception for a touchdown against the Titans.
This dude.
Stafford, interception for a touchdown against the Packers. It seems so fitting that the Rams' season would end in a game where they were up 17-0 because of their incredibly prolific offense. And Matthew Stafford threw an interception to end the game. That game yesterday versus the Niners was a microcosm of this entire Rams season. Incredibly prolific, will wow you at times, is ahead, but will do something catastrophic to find a way to lose.
Man, talk about it. Let's go deeper than that. Matthew Stafford in those 3 games, 87.8 passer rating. Like I said before, more giveaways than touchdowns. Not good. Matthew Stafford, the last 3 games, limping into the playoffs, under 100 passer rating. Let's talk about it. I've told this story before, but I think that it certainly needs a refresher in terms of this moment. Had an uncle that came home from jail, maybe prison, I don't know. He was a thief. And he came home, right? And I knew he went to jail for stealing, but he ain't never stole from me, in part because I never had anything. So, Uncle, you ain't taking from me. But I remember one time something came up missing out of Grandma's purse. Oh, boy.
Grandma Blackie?
Grandma Blackie. And you know, Grandma Blackie, it's a quick trial. Let's just say that there was only one suspect. The one who had a damn record. Right? Turns out, fast forward to the story, I've told it too many times, he didn't steal it. She just misplaced it. She was old. Grandma Blackie. Come on, Grandma. Blaming your damn son for doing this. Point being, when you remind somebody or a circumstance or a context, remind someone of the very issue you have, like right now, say Jacksonville Jaguar. See, I don't want to hear you say Jaguar. I know that's your issue. That's your problem. Point being, everybody going to be looking at you suspicious. Matthew Stafford suffers from something that the police, the California Highway Patrol once told us about. When you're nearing a goal, all of a sudden things really get out of control. They were talking about it in a different context, but basically they're saying the closer you get to anything, the more hazards appear. And with Matthew Stafford, it's crazy to say this, but when he starts to realize all that arm talent he has in that cannon, and then here we go, I can finally do something in the playoffs or get close to the play. We see the worst in him. There's no other explanation for this, but I think that the dude might be a little mental in terms of really trying to push himself through the hump. This is going to be a Kirk Cousins moment. Remember when he went against the Saints and finally exercised that demon? We need to see it, Matthew Stafford. If not, you suspect.
As a football fan, though, you should be elated, y'all at home, because Matthew Stafford is a great enigma in the National Football League. No. Matthew Stafford is a great unknown. He's one of, if not the most talented arm quarterbacks we've ever seen.
I'm about to say history. Yes, thank you.
From high school at Highland Park to college at Georgia to the National Football League. Matthew Stafford has quarterbacked the two highest grossing receivers in the history of the National Football League in a single season. Calvin Johnson, number 1, Cooper Kupp, number 2. So clearly Matthew Stafford has the talent arm-wise. I just don't think Matthew Stafford has it.
Yeah.
And you can't describe it, but you know it when you see it, and we haven't seen it. So I know, or at least I'm making the assumption, that Stafford does not have it. I can't wait. Stafford is the greatest storyline for me this playoff cell, because finally we're going to get to see, is Stafford a Hall of Famer or is he a fringe non-Hall of Famer? But this playoffs is going to tell me so much about that one individual, and I can't wait.
Yeah, you know, I'm guilty of doing something that I hate when I see it being done, which is when you read someone or you read a situation just based off of what you heard, what they've done before, but not fully what they are right now. So we're using his history, we're using his resume against him instead of for him. We're looking at Matthew Stafford, because I'm watching him now, and it's so crazy I do this. I'm looking at him in interviews, I'm looking at him post-game, and I'm like, he look like he ain't ready up here. And the only reason I say that is because I know that he hasn't been ready up there before. But is this the turning point for Matthew Stafford? Is it all he needed was this team in that moment? Right now, in anticipation of that, I don't have a ton of confidence. I don't have a ton of trust. I trust Matthew Stafford as much as I trust myself going to your house for a Super Bowl party this year. Because I know me. And them chips, I'm going to destroy them. Them dips, I'm going to destroy. Oh, something else that rhymes. Coming up, Mac Jones says his performance Sunday was super embarrassing, like what I just said. We'll tell you if we're concerned about the Patriots. That's next. You still having a party? On Speak for Yourself. Oh, you don't want everybody invited, so you ain't going to say that? Acho, party. The Patriots ended their regular season with a loss to the Dolphins Sunday. Mac Jones had 2 turnovers and called his performance, quote, super embarrassing. Next up for New England is the third matchup of the year against their AFC East rivals, the Bills, in Buffalo. So, Hacho, concerned about the Patriots?
Man, I'm concerned, Sel. I'm as concerned as I've ever been, but mind you, I had been concerned about the Patriots all season long. Remember, y'all, no rookie quarterback has gone to a Super Bowl, first and foremost. Okay. Secondly, Bill Belichick has done a phenomenal job all year, but Mac Jones is a limiting reactant. I say limiting reactant. Mac Jones is going to be what stops the Patriots from getting where they want to go. Reason the Patriots lost to the Miami Dolphins yesterday was truly off that interception, first quarter. Xavier Howard, boss defensive back for the Dolphins, picks, takes it back to the crib. The difference in that game occurred early in the game. 1, momentum change, and 2, Patriots. You can't afford to give up points on offense because your defense is already fighting their butts off to make sure they do not give up points. You have to be concerned about the Patriots, mainly because the Patriots got our hopes up. Remember when they won 7 games in a row, if I'm not mistaken? It was the Patriots before the Chiefs. Yes. Patriots before the Dolphins. Before the Dolphins had won their 7 games in a row and the Chiefs had won their 8 games in a row, the Patriots won 7 games in a row. And we started to believe, man, are the Patriots going to face the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl? Brady versus Belichick once again? And now I'm realizing the Patriots aren't even going to get past the Buffalo Bills. Because eventually you're going to have to put the game on your quarterback's shoulders. And what I saw yesterday in my disappointment of my dear brother Carson Wentz was if the quarterback cannot take the game over at some point in time, then that team is going to have a hard time winning that game. I'm concerned about these Pats.
Yeah, I'm concerned as well. I have to echo a lot what you're saying, but I also have to disagree with you being the one saying it. Let's start there. You left them for dead. Talking about this is the most concerned I've ever been for them. Boy, I hate somebody lying at the funeral, boy. I tell you, somebody, you just show up. You already had beef, right? You left him for dead, and then all of a sudden he actually dies, and you show up like, oh, my man, we were so tight. Nah, Acho, be real about this. These Patriots are overachievers, but they're also not expected to win. Both can be true and both are true with this team. If you look at the Fox Bet Sportsbook, they're not favored to beat the Bills. Bills up 4.5 points. We get all that, blah, blah, blah. But more importantly, like you said, with a rookie quarterback, did we expect them to run the table? No, we did not. They're trying to do something unlikely with a rookie, which is use the mojo and magic of Bill Belichick and sprinkle all that in on this game plan and keep it close. And then hopefully, because it's close, the rookie can get him over that hump. But it's going to be tough. Patriots have not looked like the Patriots you were talking about with the win streak earlier in this season. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games. That's not good. They are a losing team at home this year, and now they got to take that on the road. That's not good. Patriots are a losing team 2-3 against playoff teams, and then even worse, 3-7 against winning teams. That's not good. So I don't know where they're going to even get the confidence from that Bill Belichick's going to try and stir up in terms of their mental motivation. Then they're going against the Buffalo Bills, who are a better team in terms of offense and a better team in terms of defense and a better team in terms of their quarterback. I respect the coaching difference, and obviously Bill Belichick gets the nod, but he doesn't cross the white lines. So you're going to be seeing a better team that has a more equipped quarterback for this moment. Oh, just last year you was in the AFC Championship game, and last year you were in college. So this is a really unfavorable task to ask of them, especially with him at the helm. But Bill Belichick, maybe he can work some magic.
I think, again, if anybody can do it, it's Bill Belichick who can do it. But we have to look at things in totality. The Bills lost to the Patriots early on in the season. Why? They lost because of what Mac Jones wasn't asked to do. Mm-hmm. Then the Bills lost again beat the Patriots. Why?
Yeah.
They beat the Patriots because of what Mac Jones was asked to do.
Yeah.
So in the Patriots' success over the Bills, Mac Jones was asked to do nothing. Mm-hmm. And the Patriots lost to the Bills, Mac Jones was asked to do something. Yeah. Ultimately, it all comes down to Mac Jones. And unless there is, again, some sort of snow tundra with 15-mile-per-hour winds, Mac Jones is going to be the difference in this ball game. So now, is Mac Jones going to be a good difference or a bad difference? But I remind y'all, Patriots were 3-6 when Mac Jones throws an interception.
Don't do it.
They're 7-1 when he does not. So it comes down to, hey, Mac, what you got? What you going to do? Can you go this whole game without turning the ball over? Can you go a whole game without throwing an interception? Here's the problem.
Yeah.
You can throw an interception on any given play, like he did against the Dolphins. So what Mac Jones is trying to avoid is every play making a mistake. Yeah. What Mac Jones has to do positively is every play do something well. Yeah. So he's much more likely to step on a landmine than he is to avoid all the landmines. For that reason, I don't really see how the Patriots can get it done, because it has to get done through Mac Jones. You will either win because of Mac Jones or you will lose because of Mac Jones, but Mac Jones cannot sit on his hands. Mac Jones is not exempt. This game will go through Mac, and that's my fear.
Okay, you're taking me somewhere right here, because growing up, you said you played basketball, right? Were you fast? Like, did anyone walk up to you with your hair? Was it like that still? Because that was it's an old haircut, so it might have had it
I
then.
just had a fade.
You just got a fade?
Even all
back
around
then?
the Caesar, boy.
You had waves, too?
Yeah, you know it's fun.
You had the wave?
Yeah.
Wave cap, Dax,
I had the
Murray's.
sporting wave, and I had the blue magic. I had the wave cap on. Now, I only had waves on this side. For some reason, they didn't grow on the right.
They didn't go on the other side? Nigeria over there and America over here? The hell you were. So here's the thing. So you were fast. Yeah, okay. They used to call me fast. Fast, that means no matter where you take him, no matter what you do, no matter where you race him, short, long, what, he gonna beat you, right? Fast, right? I lost all that. I just became fast, then I became big. I don't know what happened to me. But the point is, Mac Jones is interesting. This team, they're not fast. They got to have perfect conditions. You talked about the stat. Give it to me again, Nacho, in terms of Mac Jones and throwing interceptions and then actually going out there and winning the ball game. You gonna give it to me? You gonna give me the stat? You ain't paying attention to me, are you, right now? See, I caught you. Get him off. Thank you. Give me the stat again of Mac Jones when he throws the interception and how the Patriots
3-6 when he throws a pick, 7-1 when he does not throw a pick, sir.
Okay. I love those, but I'm not in love with those because neither one of those are absolutes. I used to love a stat that was an absolute. Fair. You know, you're sitting in there and coach talking about, well, they run the ball 10 of 11. You're like, yeah, give me the one where they run it all 11 times, damn it. Well, let me give you a clean stat. The Patriots, when they win the turnover battle, are 8, it's clean, and 0. Okay, that's it. Just win and turnover battle. Mac Jones, throw a pick. You're a rookie. Throw 2 picks. Just make sure they throw 3 somehow, some way. Make sure we get the ball more than we give the ball away. But let's talk about fast. Because Mac Jones and his team, I used to be able to run flat, short, heel, and then all of a sudden I got caught slipping. Used to race a couple of my teammates. We used to be out there in Buffalo in the snow. Now, you ever get it? Were you the type of player that in the rain game you were the same? In the snow game you were the same?
I was not the same as snow. I couldn't play in
Dog, if it wasn't 80 degrees and no humidity, then you ain't getting all of Wiley. You're getting a piece of me somehow, some way. And I look at this team right now where they actually need compromised conditions to not help them as much as slow down the damn Buffalo Bills, like what happened when they went to Buffalo the first time, when they went out there and won the time of possession, when they went out there and held the Bills to 230 total yards. Better pray for some bad weather. If not, it's going to be bad for y'all. Coming up, the Cowboys, 49ers, and Steelers have all had standout moments. I'll tell you what's been the most impressive thing this season. That's next on Speak for Ya.
Matt Nagy fired a day after the Bears lost to the Vikings. Now, Chicago finished 6-11 this season, and Nagy leaves after going 0-2 in the playoffs, with only one season above 500 during his 4-year tenure with the Bears. Tell this one, it shook a lot of waves in the NFL, but are the Bears making the right decision to move on from Matt Nagy?
Absolutely. You said that this went down and shook up the NFL. All y'all been looking at for the last few months is the spinning wheel, the fax transition going. They been told Matt Nagy, they been told Ryan Pace, hey, y'all on notice this year. You want to know why they're on notice? 2 reasons. One, in your first season, you won 12 games out of 16. We got something here. In the next 2 seasons, you win a combined 14 games. Yuck. And 2, I thought you were a quarterback whisperer. I thought you knew how to figure out an offense. You want to hear some atrocious rankings? Listen to this. Offensive ranks, 29th, 26th, and 24th. Y'all thought that was bad? Let's talk about how many points they scored. Even worse. 29th, 22nd, and 27th. Not only are you bad, but you're getting worse. You can't do that. They told Matt Nagy, they told him this year, fix it. In part, maybe why they moved up in the draft and grabbed Justin Fields. In part, that was the life raft. That was the life preserver. Save us. It didn't work out that way. So you can't start off hot like they did 3 years ago, this regime, and then finish the way that they have right now with more question marks than answers and expect to keep your job.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Matt Nagy, you're supposed to be a quarterback whisperer, big dog. If you can't whisper to quarterbacks, then what are you doing?
Hello?
If you can't do well what you're supposed to do well, then you can't do anything. If you're an Instagram model, you better look good.
Is that the only way?
If you're a brainiac, you better stay smart.
That's it.
If you have an incredible personality and a great heart, then you better be a good person. So at the end of the day, if you can't do well what you're supposed to do well, then sell. It's like, what are you here for? And I think that was Matt Nagy's issue, is he couldn't do well the very thing he was supposed to do well. The other issue I realized with Matt Nagy,
let's go.
He just couldn't come to terms with the truth. The truth was Mitch Trubisky was never going to be Patrick Mahomes. Remember, Matt Nagy was in Kansas City when the Chiefs acquired Patrick Mahomes. So Mitch Trubisky is a running-capable quarterback, but Matt Nagy always wanted him to be a passer. Now with Justin Fields, a running-capable quarterback, Matt Nagy wanted him to be a drop-back passer. Matt Nagy never accepted the reality of who his quarterbacks were. He kept trying to make his quarterbacks something they were not. Square peg, round hole, and now he ends up fired. Bears are making the right decision to move on from Nagy, but I'm starting to wonder if Nagy couldn't get it right. And mind you, he went to the playoffs with Mitch Trubisky at the 12-4 year. And he went to the playoffs with Mitch Trubisky last year. If Matt Nagy can't get it right, I'm not sure how it will be gotten right in Chicago, because you got rid of the general manager as well.
What'd you say? If you can't do well,
what you're supposed to do well, then you can't do nothing.
So why were you defending Brian Flores? He's supposed to be a defensive-minded coach.
His defense is all right, big dog. They got a pick 6 just yesterday.
Man, I ain't broke, man. I had $5 last week, man. 30th, 20th, 15th. The best you are is 15th, and that's what you're supposed to do well, is 15th. No, because you told me in the middle of the pack is 16th rank, and that's where they
What about last year?
What about
Flores' defense last year, 6th. This year's defense is 15th.
I don't want to hear about that. Let's transition to something else. I was just trying to see if you're going to do well what you do well. Moving on, the NFL regular season is all over after a wild weekend. Now we're on to the playoffs. But before we get to that, we have to shout out some things that stood out above the rest. Acho, I need to know, what was the most impressive thing this season?
And most impressive for me, most impressive to me, the Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Sirianni. It was about 300. The Philadelphia Eagles.
You're already an Eagle for life. You ain't got to do this.
The Eagles with Nick Sirianni was the most impressive thing. 340 days ago, we were mocking Nick Sirianni because he could not get through a pregame presser. He could get through a preseason presser. We were mocking Nick Sirianni. Yeah. The Eagles started off 2-5. There was a 6.7% chance they were going to make the playoffs at 2-5. Nick Sirianni not only continues to keep his team invested, he galvanizes his troops, and now at 9-8, the Eagles are going into the playoffs. Nick Sirianni, first-year head coach, going to the playoffs. Only 3 times over the last 2 seasons have we seen a first-year head coach go to the playoffs, and that's 12 head coaches in totality, Nick Sirianni being one of them. Nick Sirianni took a quarterback who had only started 4 games prior. Nick Sirianni was a coach who had no head coaching experience and minimal offensive coordinating experience. Nick Sirianni took a team that has no offensive superstars. You traded away Zach Ertz, maybe the most beloved offensive player in the last 5 to 10 years for the Eagles. Won the Eagles that Super Bowl, if you remember that diving touchdown that solidified that game. You have questions about acquiring Deshaun Watson throughout the duration of the season. You ride that wave of turbulence, and you still lead your team to the playoffs. Nick Sirianni was the most impressive this season.
He exceeded expectations. I give you that.
By a long shot.
By a long shot.
Yes, sir.
Now, here's someone who had lofty expectations and still was able to exceed them. T.J. Watt. Dog. T.J. Watt had 22.5 sacks this year. And missed 2 games. Where they do that at? They don't do that. He missed 2 games, and let me tell you, when he missed the games, that's already 2 off the record. He came back with a growing injury. Growing. That means even a couple of those games you were playing, you weren't really T.J. Watt, or at least the wattage wasn't that high, right? So this dude may have had 3-4 games off or compromised and still tied Michael Strahan's, our boy, the great, sack record for a single season. That's amazing. That's insane. One, it's good for Strahan, too, because he don't lose the record, but he gets to get the record. And it's good for TJ because he gets to get the record, but then it's like, you ain't still it. He's not the defensive player of the year. I don't think he's going to get that. It's weird. Like, I haven't heard his name mentioned enough. I hear Micah Parsons more so than I hear him. And I think T.J. Watt needs the engine behind. Thank you. I hope he gets it because I played the position. You can add up a couple of my seasons, and I played all of the games. And it's still a T.J. Watt is insane. This is the most impressive part about it. He baby brother. Like, J.J. was the dude getting 20 sacks, and the one. You're going to look back in history, you're going to say, T.J. was that guy. How impressive is that?
Think about this, big dog. T.J. got 72 sacks through 5 seasons.
How many?
72 sacks through 5 seasons. 27 years old, 72 sacks. I think J.J. got like 110. T.J. will, if he stays healthy, T.J. gonna surpass him. Like, T.J. is amazing.
Dog, I'm going to DM him. He got to teach my son something. I played twice as long, got half as many sacks. This dude is insane. Coming up, it's playoff time, so that means Super Bowl picks. Making our predictions next on Speak for Yourself. Better respond too, TJ Watt. Damn! Said it to him. Playoffs are a few days away, and the Packers have the best shot to win the Super Bowl, according to Fox Bet Sportsbook. 14 teams still have a chance to hold up the Lombardi Trophy. So, Acho, what's your Super Bowl prediction?
There's nothing I like more than being in a casino and getting to say this: double down.
Ooh.
Right? I'm confident, and I'm even more confident in my hand. So shall I double down on my September 9th take? But in order to double down, y'all got to know what the take is, shall we? The Chiefs will defeat the Rams, but I got Rams and Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I'm doubling down on it, big dog. Let me put some more money up on the table.
Yeah.
Let me just get one car dealer.
Let's go.
Let me get twice as much money. Chiefs, Rams, Super Bowl. I still got the Chiefs.
I got one up on your double down right here. There's nothing I like better than going to the casino and say, dealer, split them. Because I like to take that long way to it. And I did with my Tampa Bay prediction versus my Buffalo Bills. Still alive. I know what you're going to say. Look at your face right now. You You know that Tampa's won 7 of their last 8 games despite Tom Brady potentially losing the MVP and the team not looking the same. You know the Buffalo Bills have had 4 straight wins despite them sputtering and not looking the same. These teams are poised to do exactly what I predicted, be in the Super Bowl. And then,
understand, though, Sel, the Bills' road might be the toughest in all of the playoffs. Bills first got the Patriots. If the Raiders do beat the Bengals, now the Bills will have the Chiefs. Then after having the Chiefs, you got whoever you end up with in the AFC Championship game.
That is tough. Imagine what the other teams are saying. We got to play the Bills. All right, that's it for us. Fox Bet Live is next.